I'll be honest, I didn't really care for the original Blade Runner directed by Ridley Scott. However, Denis Villeneuve's Blade Runner 2049 may possibly be the best film of 2017. What he has done here, he's made not only a film that you just listen and watch conventionally, but he has made a film that you can experience solely with your eyes or solely with your ears. Seriously, it's an entirely different movie if you were just to listen to it. It's an entirely different film if you were just to have it on mute and watch the images. It is so unbelievably extraordinary. And just straight off the bat as well, you don't need to have seen Blade Runner, the original, to follow this. It does help, but it's not a requirement. It's a separate individual story here. It is a sequel in politics, in tone, in of course the world. It does feature Harrison Ford returning as Deckard. However, that takes a while. That does take some patience. It's definitely Ryan Gosling's film here. Okay, he plays Kay. He's an LAPD officer and he's on the hunt to eliminate all the original replicants. Okay, but along the way, during his hunt, he discovers some remains of a human. Taken back to his squad, he is then asked to eradicate all evidence related to these remains, and that's all you need to know. I went in blinded, and I think it certainly helped. I had no expectations because I didn't really enjoy the first one as well. I think my expectations were low to begin with, but yeah, to see this film unfold upon my very eyes, upon my very ears, I wouldn't have had it any other way. The only difference I would have chosen was that I wished I'd seen this on IMAX instead of 2D. I'm an idiot. Ryan Gosling is just simply sublime here. Okay, he's a great actor anyway, but for some reason he just seemed to step up another level here. I mean, he is absolutely beautiful. He had so many layers. He performs like he's a man with absolutely no soul, but they say the eyes are the window to the soul, and just with these little peepers there, he gives it so much. It's very subtle, but he gives it so much weight, so much story. And now I'm more in love with him than I've ever been before. He just stands, observes and acts, wearing that really freaking cool jacket, which I really, really want. He does all of that with no compassion, but just that look, just that the small stance, the posture, his expression, which is deadpan, it speaks 1,000 words. Take that with a very fatigued and belligerent performance from Harrison Ford, and you have a really bleak and very intense relationship they do form. Don't be misled that Harrison Ford is in this movie because he needs to be in this movie because we need to have Harrison Ford in this movie, said the filmmakers. He does have an arc. He does have a purpose, and you do end up rooting for his character and you want to see him, and he doesn't feel tired. His character's tired, his character is exhausted from what he's going through, understandably. Now he does embrace the role of Deckard again, though. He probably embraces the paycheck a little bit more, but what are you going to do? He does have this really cool dog as well, and there are some moments of levity between him and the dog. The performances are absolutely astounding. However, I will say this, Robin Wright's character, she drops the F-bomb. She's the only one who does drop the F-bomb from what I can remember. She drops it several times throughout the movie. Because of the way the language is set up, it just feels very out of place because it's said in such a sort of everyday 2017 modern day sort of way, and they have a way that they speak in this film. You know the way that I'm talking about. It was unnecessary. It really feels unnecessary. And I understand that this film contains adult content. It is gruesome, it is uncomfortable to watch, it is bleak, and it is violent, and there is some nudity in there. I will say this, and don't shoot me, there are some nice boobies in this. Okay, I'm saying bad things now. I would have taken out the profanity. And man, I would have loved to have seen what David Bowie was originally meant to play the role of Wallace, which is played by Jared Leto. I would have loved to have seen what he'd done with this. That would have been amazing. But don't get me wrong, Jared Leto is great in this as well. Do not expect him to have a big part. He is in it sporadically. He kills it, don't get me wrong, in his, you know, usual Jared Leto sort of way. He really absorbs the role. But that's great. I mean, everyone does absorb their characters here, and they do feel like they belong here. And everyone has a sort of odd look about them. Even if there's no actors in the shot, however, there is an extraordinary performance taking place. It's the little things that Villeneuve has done, like the exterior shots, or cutaways, or just landscapes. I could watch them for hours. Everything just looks so muted and mundane and bleak, but there is also hints of vibrancy that it's creepy and unsettling. That's the best way I can describe this film as a whole. It's very unsettling. You know, you have that the sound design where it's got that beat. Oh, I can't really do it. Even when there's no music, the dialogue and the background effects, they become the orchestra. I know it's very easy. Oh, every film has background noise. Every film has dialogue. That's your sound. But no, here there's a craft. Nothing is done by mistake. Everything has been done meticulously and methodically, and there's a pattern, a symmetry to everything. The way it looks. Okay, let's take for an example. Let's take Jesse Eisenberg as Mark Zuckerberg in The Social Network. There is a sequence just after the first scene where he is running from the bar to his dorm room, and it just cuts to long shots, long takes of him running through the campus, and it holds on the shot for such a long time with, you know, you got Trent Reznor's beautiful trepidatious score. And in comparison to that, with Blade Runner 2049, there is a scene where two characters, they walk from one place to another. There is nothing but the colour of orange or yellow. Everything else is black, and it's them standing, and there's a lovely shot of them silhouetted in the centre, in between two black pillars, or the wall, but it's black, so it's dark, and all you got is the light at the end of the tunnel, and then you see them walk. It cuts, a long shot, again, it's just their silhouettes, but you see them from afar, more of the landscape. Then it cuts again with them walking towards the front of the frame, and they walk next to a wall, but it's got bars so it lets the light in, and there's loads of sun rays. I don't know what the fuck I'm saying, man. It made me orgasm in my pants in the cinema. Not literally, but it was awesome. So many examples of shots and sequences like that, just so mundane things which are just so photographic, so idyllic, so beautiful, so tragic. There is a sense of ominous trepidation throughout the entire film here. My heart was literally beating 1,000 miles per minute. I needed to go to the toilet, and bear in mind it was an hour into this film. This film's 163 minutes, which, by the way, it earns every single second of. But I just sat knowing that I still had an hour and a half left of this film, knowing that I could bust any minute now, because I just didn't want to miss. I was so absorbed and so engaged, and that really rarely happens. That really does rarely happen. Usually I feel like I can afford to miss a minute or two just to go to the toilet, and I just feel like I'll catch up. I didn't want that at all. I didn't have that feeling here. I really just, I was hypnotised. Another thing I will say about this is that they seem to have embraced CGI and really use it to its advantage. It's very easy for a film to have CGI just for the sake of having CGI, and don't get me wrong, there are a few instances where it could have been better. It wasn't perfect. The scope of this film, it is huge, but it's not huge because it feels it needs to be huge because that fits the criteria of it being a blockbuster. It is fit into the story here, into its dystopian world of California. It's a character itself. It's a character as much as the human characters. There's something really beautiful in silence as well. When a character doesn't speak, a character does not speak unless it has to speak. There is no unnecessary dialogue here, apart from maybe those F-bombs. Blade Runner 2049, if you've not seen the original, don't worry about it, okay? Watch it if you want to. In fact, to be honest, you'll more than likely go and watch this. Like me, I now want to go back and watch the original Blade Runner, and I think I'll see it with a different perspective, with a different appreciation. But go out and watch this, okay? It is absolutely extraordinary. It does require patience because it is 163 minutes long. No question about it, that's just a fact. But you want to give it your patience, and you're willing to give it your patience. I really feel like the production companies just left Villeneuve to his own devices, trusted him to make a Blade Runner film the way a Blade Runner film should be. And this is everything that a blockbuster should be. It's not just big because it needs to be big. It's not just loud because it needs to be loud. There's not just explosions because there needs to be explosions. There are a few explosions, by the way. He clearly just loves film, and he clearly wants to just make a really epic, good movie. And he succeeded. This film, I love it. And it gets 2 thumbs up. 2 thumbs up, baby! 2 thumbs up! 2 thumbs up! Go out and watch Blade Runner 2049, you scoundrels. Like, share, subscribe. for more updates from Thumbmaster. And until next time, do not forget that movies are my jam.